Happy to see you. Thank you very much, JB, for inviting me. This is going to be shorter. I asked for only 15 minutes because I wanted there to be more time for the really specific and practical presentations, such as the one we just saw from Phil. But I'm going to talk about perceptions about call mostly. Okay, I made a web page with the references and a couple of links. I will put that in the chat box after I get finished. I'm going to speak very quickly. So if you want the PowerPoint, you can email me. I'll be happy to send it to you. Anyway, so call. I love call. I think it's thrilling. I really enjoy it. Quick reality check. Not everybody has access, even now. Not everybody uses call. Not everybody likes call. I think we have to keep that in mind. My overview is I'm going to talk about some labels and definitions, some perceptions, and then some of my suggestions. Okay, labels and definitions. You all know that we have an alphabet soup of acronyms: call, CAI, cell, CMC, ICT, etc., MAL, small, tall, tell. We're full of all these acronyms. Labels seem to be very, very important to some people, I've noticed. And when I start asking people about what call is, a lot of times they don't tell me what it is. They argue about what to call it. And they have these rather heated discussions. And it really doesn't matter to me. I call it call, but the other phrases work just as well for me. You might want to look at Levy and Hubbard, the article, Why Call, 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 which really explains why I use call, probably also because I'm in the older generation. Also look at Vance Stevens, Why Not Call, Call Small, which I think has a lot of merit. I think we need definitions also. We need to get really precise definitions for common terms such as e-learning, blended learning, flipped classroom, digital natives. We need to make it clear what we're talking about. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. Oh, my phone is ringing. Okay. Not everybody thinks that call is a legitimate field. And there's some pushback to that. You definitely should check out the statements of the leading call organizations of the world about scholarship and what our responsibility is. I think those are important to read in order of having people take us seriously. Now some people do know what call is. It seems to be a pretty recognized term. And we have all of these organizations with call in the title, such as APACALL and many others, World Call, Glow Call, Eurocall, etc. We also have some organizations that deal with call that do not have call in the title, such as Kamal and Calico and LET. And then, of course, we have subgroups of larger organizations that really deal specifically with call, such as Call IS, JALT Call. We also have a goodly number of journals that are dedicated to call. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Lots of books that deal with call, hundreds of PhD dissertations about call that are coming out now. So call is very well known, but it's also become very vague because there's so many different options. And under the umbrella of call, we have authentic materials, such as Phil was talking about, concordances, references, dictionaries, social media, certainly, all kinds of student project, constructive activities, games, courseware, virtual reality, augmented reality. All those really come under the umbrella of call. I want to talk a little bit about the perceptions about us and about call. When I say us, I mean call specialists, call enthusiasts, people like me, professionals, stakeholders. Usually on every campus or in many campuses, there is the call person. So when I say us or we, I mean these call people. So let's look at some of those. Administrators see us, other call specialists, language learners, language teachers, tech support staff, the world, the larger community. And I think each of these groups really have a different view of call and call folk. And I want to talk about some of these perceptions. This is kind of depressing, but it'll end up okay. Administrators, basically their reaction is call is expensive. It's all about the hardware. What do the call coordinators really do? Why do you need all this release time? Show me the data, prove that call is effective. I'm sure all of you have heard these things. They have this idea that call is some kind of a turnkey operation. Install the equipment in software, then you're done. You don't need staff. You don't need any ongoing budget for upgrades or training. You just need the turnkey equipment and software. A lot of call folks get asked to do call on top of their other work. You look at job descriptions: teach full-time and run the call lab, teach full-time and create call software, teach full-time and repair all the computers. This happens in a lot of places. And more things for us to do: fix the printers, back up the hard drives, maintain the server, do the website. Oh, and get money to pay for everything, get grants to pay for everything. Is all this sounding familiar? I'm betting that it is. The tech support people don't always view us kindly because they see call as just extra work for them. Us, in this case, meaning the tech support staff. These are actual things that tech support people have said to me on various campuses. Why do you need headsets? Why do you need microphones? Do you really need to have audio? You don't need server space. We don't allow games here. You don't need fast internet. These are typical reactions. Language teachers. Oh, you're the call specialist. Can you help me with my Excel formula? Can you change my Facebook settings, remove my virus, open my email, update my operating system, do my PowerPoint, etc. These somehow seem to come under our area, when to us, they don't have anything to do with call, or only tangentially. Okay, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what we need, what the requirements are for doing call, that I find out. A lot of people seem to think it's only on desktop computers, when in fact we know today that it's on smartphones and tablets. Call is just about drills. Call is all about whatever particular thing they think it's about. They think that's the only thing that it's about, and this can be problematic. Let's see. Yeah, people sometimes think that call is only the internet. That's all it is. And people have said to me, I can't use call because my school doesn't have good internet. When in fact, there are many things you can do with call, even if you don't have the internet. Okay. Some people, I'm having a little bit of trouble progressing here. Yeah, to do it, some people think that to do call with a class, you have to have one computer or device per student, when in fact you can often have students work in pairs or groups. There's a perception which really bothers me, that teachers are somehow not part of the process of call. And people have asked me, a lot of people have asked me, isn't there a website that we can just send the students and they can learn English? The assumption under this is anything you want is probably already there. And people have said to me, just decide what you want to do, it's probably out there. I don't like this because it's assuming that the teacher will not be making it, that somehow some other person has made it and the teacher is not involved. And the result is, I've also heard, and I've heard this at places like Calico, teachers don't make anything anymore. You know, you just go to websites or go to some prefabricated location and use what is there. Teachers have become only consumers of call. And I can't help but mentioning that, in fact, teachers can and should create call materials. I have to mention an app that I worked on called Brimming. It's an Android app. It's free. You can go to Google Play and get it. Here's my app develop. Oh, it has vocabulary, it has listening, it has reading, it has various things. Here's my app development team there at Daffodil International University in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Very proud of that. Here are the students using Brimming. They've all got this on their smartphones. There seems to be this common perception that with call, the teacher doesn't have to do anything. If you've got call, that takes care of everything. And call isn't just turning on a switch. Teacher involvement is key, as Phil mentioned. Let's talk about some perceptions of language learners. There's this misunderstanding and confusion about what computers can and cannot do. There seem to be two extreme attitudes about the role of technology in language learning. One is computers can do everything, and the other extreme is computers can't do anything. And I think that's really our job, is to resolve this. There's this perception that call can do magic. And to me, it still is magic, I admit. But the reality is that it's still a lot of hard work to use call, to produce call, and to do everything with it. Students seem to think that some tools can do a perfect job, like grammar checkers, spell checkers, translation software. And we, of course, I think it's part of our responsibility to point out that they don't always work. Okay. I'm also worried about communication sometimes with other call folks and other perceptions. Most of the time, I think we communicate well, we understand each other, but not in all cases. There seems to be this idea that if you're a really good call person, you have to like all the tools and options. And there's this idea circulating that if we say something negative about call, we're not very loyal. I've heard this. Okay. So here's some suggestions I'm going to make, and I'll go back to that last point. We really need to have precision in terms like e-learning, blended learning, digital natives. Colbert wrote about that in 2018. I think you have to define your terms. Blended learning means many different things to many different people. So if you're doing research or talking about your project, you need to be very precise about what it is that you're doing and give a definition of it. I don't think it would be a bad idea for the call community to develop a glossary of terms so that we would all have a mutual understanding of the of different terms. We need to, as I said before, we need to educate people about call and what it can do and what it cannot do. As Phil said earlier, learner training is key. Autonomous learning is still critical, but students have to manage their own level at their own learning at some level. Okay. I would like to put out a call for tolerance. It's okay if everyone doesn't like everything. Examples, I personally don't like Prezi, and I've gotten in trouble. People have said, oh, well, even if you don't like it, you shouldn't say that out loud because I'm trying to get teachers to use it and you're being disloyal if you say you don't like it. Another example is Twitter. I love Twitter. I like Twitter much better than Facebook. My husband detests it. He can't stand Twitter. And I think that's fine. I think we have to realize that not everybody's going to like everything. Okay, I think we have to be able to criticize freely and to accept criticism. When technology, what can technology do better and what can it do? You may be aware of these more than one recent study, the students can retain more by taking notes by hand than by typing them on their laptops. And if this is the case, I think we have to just face that and accept it. I think we have to be very visible and do presentations, publish, do demonstration, do webinars like this one. Thanks for organizing this one, JB. And we have to join and support call organizations, okay? And here you are, you're at an APACALL seminar, so you have some association with call already. I think you should be proud of that and celebrate our profession. Thanks for your attention. Questions, comments? I'll go ahead and put those into the chat box. Okay.